Mr. Lim here, and we are going to look at how to make this graph for this investigation. It's a log graph, so it's pretty different. Okay, so hopefully by now you have this particular table made, right? Let's zoom in a bit. Effectively showing what solution you have, what concentration you have, what conductivity you have, and what pH you have recorded for each of those tests. Okay. Ideally, we would have had the sodium hydroxide done, but we didn't get time to do that, so that's okay. And ultimately, please make sure that you've changed your conductivity to milliamps so that they're all in 1 unit, so that it all makes sense. Okay, so now that we've done that, we need to make a graph. So we need to make a graph comparing this concentration versus this conductivity. Okay, and then we're going to make a concentration graph versus a pH graph. Now, we're only going to include these ones here because these ones here make up the calibration curve. All right, these are our unknowns, which we are going to look at their conductivity and their pH, and then work out their concentration from them. Okay, so first of all, let's make this conductivity one. Okay, so you highlight those things there, right? Then you insert a scatter graph, okay? A scatter graph, and there you have that, okay? We're going to turn this into a full page chart. So up the top right hand corner, you want to move the chart as a new sheet, and we're going to call this Mr. Lim Makes Terrible Videos. Okay, and that's the name of our new sheet, which is now down here, and there's our graph. Okay, a couple of things. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding lots of chart elements, and so you'll be expected to add the axis labels, the chart title, and a trend line. I'll show you how to do the trend lines, and I'll show you how to do these grid lines, but this axis titles and chart titles should be fairly straightforward. You should know how to do those, and you should know what should be written in those. Okay, so the first thing here is that we notice that these two dots here are quite close together, then that dot's all the way out there. That's because this is on a logarithmic scale. This is on a linear scale, and your data is logarithmic. Okay, because you've decreased the concentration by tenfold each time. So we want to change this horizontal axis. So you click on this horizontal axis on any of those values, then you two-finger click, and you format this axis. You format this axis, and you come up with these axis options and text options in this particular tab here with 3 little bars. You want to choose a logarithmic scale, and that will change your scale, and so now you'll see that they are more evenly spread out. Okay, but you'll also see that value went to the right hand side. That's fine, don't worry about that. Okay, so now your chart is on a logarithmic chart, a scale. It's nice and easy to see where everything is. All right, so that now you've changed that to a logarithmic scale, you need to be able to use this as a calibration curve. So we're going to add a couple of things. Number one, we're going to add in a trend line. Okay, and a trend line is effectively the line of best fit. And so we're going to have a look at what's the appropriate line of best fit thing. Okay, here we're going to use, for conductivity, we're going to use a linear line of best fit. Okay, and if you notice that that's not a line, that's because it's on a logarithmic scale. Okay, you can change that trend line to a logarithmic trend line by clicking on it and then formatting the trend line and changing it to a logarithmic trend line, which turns it into a straight line on a logarithmic scale. But that trend line doesn't actually match the data that we have. That's why we're going to use this linear one instead, and it seems to be a lot better. All right. You can actually get this to also extrapolate, and so that will be going past the dots of information that you have, but let's not do that because that's not reliable. Anyway, that's how you add a trend line. Go to add chart element, trend line, and you want a linear one. Okay. So there's that one there. Now, with a normal calibration curve, you would find the value that you're looking for, and then you would find where it crosses the line of best fit, and then you would go down, and then you would find the value that it's related to. Okay, but you'll notice that here that you can't really tell where those are between, right? Because it's too far apart. So we need to add more lines effectively. So we're going to go to add chart element, grid lines, primary minor horizontal, and primary minor vertical. Okay, so if you notice, those lines aren't evenly spaced out because, again, this is on a logarithmic scale. But what each line represents is an increase by 1/10 of the value between these two values here. So effectively, this is 0.1 and this is 1. So the values between this are between 0.1 and 1. And so therefore, this line here, this vertical line here that I'm moving the mouse on, is 0.2. Then it goes up to 0.3, the next vertical line, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1. Right? Same for the next one here, 0.01, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04, 0.05, 0.06, 0.07, 0.08, 0.09, 0.10, which is 0.10. All right? So that's what these lines mean. So now that you've added your grid lines, and ideally you've also added in your chart titles and stuff like that, you're going to draw the construction lines. Like you could print this out and then you could draw them yourselves and then work it out. But you can also add them into your graph by inserting a shape like a line. Okay, and then you can just draw a line. Now let's have a look at the data that we have. So remember that we have just graphed conductivity and concentration. We need to find what's the approximate concentration for this, for this phosphoric acid, which has a value of 270. So let's go back to our chart, okay? And let's find 270 on the conductivity scale. So 270 would be around about somewhere between 2 and 300, and each of these horizontal lines is 20, so therefore it'd be about here. So you're going to insert a line at where 270 is, and you're going to make a horizontal line to the trend line. Okay. Now, when you draw it, oh, what the hell? Where's my line? That didn't make a line. Where the hell's my line? Stupid line. Insert shape. Make a line here. What the hell? Where's my line gone? Something's wrong with my line. Why is this line so hard to draw? Let's try an arrow. Oh, must be because it's making it on sheet 1. No? Ah, there's all my lines. Stupid lines. Where have they gone? Why are they all the way over there for? Okay. Come here, line. No, go away. Don't care. All right, let's zoom out. Okay, so let's go redraw that line. Insert shapes line. Okay, we want to go at 270, which is approximately here. Oh my god, useless piece of... Anyway, notice how this line can go on any angle. If you hold the shift key, it makes it a straight line at either 90, 45 degrees or 0 degrees, okay? And so I'm making it that long there, and I'm going to move it down to the... Oh my goodness. I don't want the plot area. I want the line. Come on. Give me the line. Oh my goodness. Anyway, you have a go at it, and ideally, hopefully, you'll grab that line. Oh my goodness. Anyway, you move that line to where it would cross the trend line. Okay? Oh, come on. Anyway, you move that line where it would cross the trend line. Come on. Anyway. Whee. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyway, you move that line there. I think it's because this plot area is above that line, and that's why I can't move it. And anyway, maybe you should do this in Word. But the idea is that you can print this out, and then you draw a line from 270 across, and then you draw a line down from there, and then you work out what that value is. Okay, this one here has lost its vertical lines. Oh my goodness, they've moved. Anyway, here's what I made before. Okay, just for this, just for something like that. Okay, so there at 270, I drew a line there, and then I drew a line down there, and then I can see that it's at this is 0.01, this is 0.02, this is 0.03, so it's somewhere between 0.03 and 0.04, and I'd say it's close to 0.04, so I'd say 0.037 or so-ish, right? And that is the value for that 270 conductivity, right? There's another value for like 160, and you see that I colored them nicely, right? And here's one that only got a 13, okay? Now, if you look at this line, it doesn't cross that trend line at all, okay? And if it doesn't cross that trend line, well, you can't work it out what it is. And that's fine. It just means that it's going to be a value less than 0.0001, right? And that's fine. And ultimately, you could do the same with the pH chart, and here's a pH chart that I've done before as well. The pH chart, this trend line is a logarithmic trend line, right? And so that would be the one that you'd want to use for the pH chart, a logarithmic trend line for the pH chart, a linear trend line for the concentration chart, right? You use those, you draw some lines to where those will go. So let's have a look. So this citric acid had a pH of 1.9. So I would find 1.9, which is about here, and I would draw it a line, and hopefully this works better. 1.9. Whee! There we go. To the trend line. I'm holding shift down to make sure that it's a horizontal line. Okay, there it's past the trend line, and I'm going to draw another line going downwards from there. Okay, and so now, if you can see, where's my thing gone? Okay, so now I've drawn a line, and so now that is at, that one there is at, for a value of 0.19 or 1.9, I'm not going to move that again because I know I'm going to grab the plot area, all right? But that's actually not on that line. It's probably between that line and that line there. So you would have it at that's 0.01, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04, so 0.042 maybe, right? Would be where that one crosses apart. Alternatively, you print these out and you do it by hand, which is probably much better, much easier, all right? So, number one, get your data to look like this. Number two, you select the data that you want to graph, and you only want to graph this data, and if you want to select this data and that data, what you do is you select it, hold command, and then select again, and then you can graph that data as well, right? Once you graph that data, you change your horizontal scale to a log scale, right? And then you add in the add in the grid lines, add in the trend line, add in the axis labels, add in the titles, and then you can either do it by hand, these whatsamajiggy construction lines to work out what the values are, and then you'll be able to hand that in. All right, I think that's it. Have a go with it, and then if you can't do it, come see me. Adios.